Hello everybody and welcome back to the second shelf and the first recent reads on Sunday in the not so new year anymore, year, because it's already the 15th. But anyway, I hope you all had still a good start into the year if this is the first video you watch from me. And we just changed the camera angle a little bit because we are adventurous in 2023. Yes, very much so. Anyway, I have 4 books that I want to talk to you about. The first books that I've read in 2023 and a couple that I'm currently reading. So the first book, if you if you excuse me, there was a frog somewhere, even though I live in the city. The first book of the year, if you follow my channel, you know, is always a graphic novel, graphic memoir, graphic nonfiction. And for this year, I picked a graphic memoir by Malika Gharib. It won't always be like this. It's colorful, graphic memoir. I think the last one was a black and white, but I actually, as you can see, I love color. So I really like the artwork in this. And Malika Gharib is a US-American writer, artist, graphic memoir artist. From her father is Egyptian and her mother Malaysian or Philippines. Sorry, just flew out of my mind because I looked it up just before I started the video, so I'm sorry about that. But anyway, and this is a memoir about her childhood. Her father left the family to go to Egypt when Malaka was quite young, 6-7 years old, and she visited him in Egypt over the summer for a number of years, and he married there, had children there, so she had siblings, and this is her memoir about how she came to terms with this type of relationship with her father and the family. I really enjoyed it. I didn't, how can I put that without being negative? I didn't love the book, but I really liked it. So if the artwork, let's have a look again, if the artwork appeals to you and you're interested in this type of graphic memoir, I can certainly recommend it. So this was a good start into the year, not a over the moon perfect start, but that's okay. It was a good start, good solid start of the year. The next book I read was fiction, and if you watched my video about plans, one of the plans is to read independent books published by independent presses, especially 2 presses are in the focus, the Feminist Press, which is a US press, and the Virago Press, which is a UK press, and they both almost exclusively publish female writers, so that's good for me for this channel, and I really liked their backlist when I looked at both of them in December when I decided my plans. And so the first one didn't quite work out because I ordered the wrong book, so to speak. It is this one, Claire Coda, Woman Eating, which was published last year, and I just ordered the book because I saw it on the backlist of Virago, but this is not the Virago edition. Yes, it's and I think it's the US edition, obviously. Not obviously, but it is Harper Via. So sorry, Virago, the first didn't quite work, but you can order this if you are in Europe. You can order this from Virago Press. Anyway, so Claire Coda is a young English writer and musician. Here we go. This is a picture of our author, and I think now I lost something. I don't know. And the book is about Lydia, who is a vampire. And that is not a spoiler. It will become clear in the first couple of pages. And I think it's even mentioned on the blurb. And she tries not to eat humans. She was raised by her mother vampire, and she is a hybrid because her father was human, a Japanese artist who died for some reason. We don't know quite why, before Lydia was even born. And then we follow Lydia while she interns for a famous gallery, has some nice but also some not so nice encounters. And I don't want to spoil the story, but there is a Me Too theme in the book. And I really enjoyed this. I mean, I saw a couple of quite, negative reviews. I mean, this is not your typical vampire horror story, or if you are thinking Twilight, no. This is much more, I mean, Virago Press, it's much more a feminist approach to this idea of eating and what we put into our bodies, especially as women, and how eating is looked at, and being hungry all the time, because she's hungry all the time because it's hard for her to get pig's blood. So, and there is also a very tender storyline about her and her mother, because her mother has dementia. So she is a vampire with dementia and has to be in a nursing home, which causes all types of problems because she can't eat the regular food there. So this idea that you are maybe not mainstream, that you have different needs than maybe most of the people you encounter. I liked all the themes, but mainly it's like let's make a whole sentence. What I really like in fiction is if the main thing is a good story, and then the themes and the message, or the problems or issues that the author wants to discuss are not covered up by the story, but are an integral part. That's maybe the best way of putting it. An integral part of the story. So it's not message first, and then the author thought, oh yeah, we're gonna do a story around it. No, there is just a really good story, and you can just read the story, but there is also a message, and there is layers, and I love that. So I really, really enjoyed that book. And again, sorry, Virago Press, for not buying your edition. Anyway, second book. The third book was also Virago Press, and here I managed to actually order the book, the edition of Virago Press's edition, and it's a memoir, Golem Girl by Riva Lera, and it is a small book, but it is quite heavy because the paper it's very heavy quality paper, because you have art illustrations, because Riva Lera is an artist, a painter, but she is also, is disabled the word you use at the moment? She has a serious body condition, which is called, in English, spina bifida. I already talked about that because this is a book from the 1001 Women's Book List, also the same, by the way, with this, also from the 1001 books by women I have to read. So I talked already about this. So spina bifida means that the fetus, when developing, doesn't really close around the spinal cord. So part of it is open on the back and protrudes out of the body. And there's all kinds of, not only that this has to be dealt with an operation, but there's all kinds of additional issues, like growth issues, but can also go to memory, the way you walk, all kinds of medical issues that are ensued. And I think I said that when I talked about the book in the context of the 1001 Women video that Rivalera had when she wrote this book in 2020. I think 2020. She had more than 43 operations. She's now in her 50s. I really thought this was an excellent book about art, because she also paints friends. She gets involved in a group of people, artists who have all some sort of physical issue, whether from an accident or whether by birth, and the expression through art. She really finds her way as an artist, and that is portrayed in the book. So you definitely have to be interested in reading about art. If you just want a memoir about a disability, this is not it. She tells you all about her journey and her issues, but that is only half of the memoir, and I love to read about art. So I really, really enjoyed this book. It was a good pick for me from the backlist, and I'm just gonna check whether I had the 2021 was the publication date. And then I had also read my first reread of the year, which is now falling down. So I'm not going to edit this out. We're just going to roll with it this year. My first reread of the year was also my first buddy read, and that was with Heidi from My Reading Life. She had that on her, what she calls ancient TBR, and I wanted to reread it for a long time. So we read We Are All Completely Beside Ourselves by Karen Joy Fowler, published in 2013 together. And the book was on the long or short list, shortlisted for the Man Booker 2014, and I read it 6 years ago in 2016 and wanted to reread it. It's the story of Rosemary. She tells the story when we start in 1996-ish, 1997, when she's in her early 20s, and she tells us about her childhood, when she lived as a young girl with a sister and an older brother who's 5-6 years older, Lowell. Her sister is called Fern, and it's quite an unusual family. I'm not going to say more than that. If you don't know and haven't read the book, if you read the book, you know what I'm talking about. And then the family hits hardship and is split up for some reason that we will learn later in the book. So at the end, it's only Rosemary in the family. And she's looking for a sister, she's looking for her brother. And it's deals with a lot of really, really difficult issues, one of which also has to do with human rights versus animal rights. It has to do with guilt. It has to do with taking responsibility for actions. At some point, we learn that Rosemary did something when she was very, very young, 5 years old, that had horrible consequences, and how she tries to come to grips with it. Also, the responsibility of scientists and scientific experiments and the consequences of that. So there are a lot of really, really difficult, and if you want to say heavy, topics in the book. And it's at times hard to read because it's also about abuse, and it's about physical violence at points, also towards animals and towards human beings. So it's not an easy book to read, but I thought it's again an excellent story that for me is really, really thought-provoking. The reread, even though I know there is a plot twist that you will learn about, and when 80 pages in, I knew that, of course, because I read it already, but it still worked for me, the story. So it's not about this surprise that you get when you first read it and don't know anything about the book after 80 pages. That's not it. It's really yeah, I was engaged a lot in this book, and I can certainly recommend it. But like I said, beware, it's a tough book at times to read. So those are the 4 books that I wanted to talk about that I've read, and now on to the books that I'm currently reading. They are both buddy reads. The first one is a buddy read with Courtney from Courtney Ferreter, who still has to come back to BookTube. I mean, we managed to get Terri and Kathleen Ann back, so now Courtney has to follow. 3 is a charm, isn't it? Anyway, we are reading, our first buddy read of the year is a modern classic, or classic. It's 1859-ish published, and that is a book with a glare, The Bondswoman's Narrative by Hannah Crafts, and edited by Henry Louis Gates Jr. And Hannah Crafts, yeah, I think this is maybe the best way of getting, because it's a library copy. I only could get it used, and this is the library, how do you say that, plastic thing that you, I will maybe try to get it off, but anyway, because I want to get rid of the thing here, and that's on the plastic. Anyway, it's what it says on the tin. Hannah Crafts talks about her life, so it's an autobiography memoir as a slave. And then Henry Louis Gates was the one who edited the book. There is also an introduction here in this in this edition, which is quite long, I think 70 pages long, by Henry Louis Gates. And then you have the actual book, which is about 250 pages, and then testimonies, and I will just show you testimonies and all kinds of other things. So what Courtney and I decided is that we will first read the book, and then we see about the rest. And I've just started, so more on this later. And spoiler alert, this is one of the 12 classics, but I will make the video on Wednesday. And the last book I just want to mention really briefly, it's a crime. Terri and I are reading our way through the Dublin Mystery series by Tana French, and we're now on to book 5, which is Broken Harbor, which features Mike Kennedy, Scorcher, which we encountered in the previous book, and not a sympathetic character, but he's the main detective, and he has to solve a gruesome murder where a whole family, a mother, father, and 2 young children, are killed in their home. And yeah, we are on the verge of learning, because we are almost finished, on the verge of learning what has happened. So it's Tana French. It's great. Anyway, so these are the books for my first recent reads on Sunday. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, as always, and looking forward to your comments as always. And I will see you all soon in the next one.